What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Do you have a Talaria Sting R and have you been wanting a little bit more power out of your stock battery setup? I think it is finally time to show the brand new Torp Talaria Sting controller. Okay, it is time to show you guys how to install this new controller, and we're gonna start by removing our stock controller. So this is gonna be an in-depth how-to guide. We're gonna show you exactly what to take off, and we're gonna sit them side by side and show you what comes in the box on the new controller. Okay, our first step is going to be to disconnect all of our power. So we're going to open up our battery compartment, flip our breaker off, unplug our battery, and in this case we're just going to pull it out so we have a little bit more room to work. Taking off our fender, because that is always in the way when you're removing your controller. Okay, our fender is off. We got our 3 Allens. Put those aside, leave them right with the fender so we know where our screws are going. Now we're going to put our 3mm on. We're going to remove the horn cover, pop that one out, one right here. That's pretty much why you have to remove your fender, is because there's always that one screw that's in the way. Horn cover is off. Okay, now it's time to remove our controller. So we got 2 screws here, 2 screws here. And 4 bolts. So now we can literally pull our controller part of the way off. So we're gonna undo these top plugs. So we're gonna pinch it, pull it out. Same on the white one. So now we're disconnected on the top. If you guys notice here, this is that brown looping wire that you guys cut to de-restrict your bike so it could go top speed. That is hooked onto your controller, so don't worry about that being gone. It's gonna come off with your new controller install. Our next step is gonna be to drop the front of the skid plate, give us a little bit more room to disconnect our motor phase wires. We got 1 bolt here, 1 on the other side. Now down here there is 2 more, but we should be able to fold this down out of the way, just like so. Bunch of dirt in there, we'll have to clean that out. And then we can kind of turn it to the side here and use our 5mm to disconnect all 5 of these big screws. So it is usually easier to remove the positive and negative connectors, and then that gives you more room to work to remove the 3 motor phase wires. So you see, once we get those out of the way, we can literally drop it down like this. We're gonna break all these with a nice Allen, and then we're gonna put our drill on it just to save some time. There we are. So that stock controller all the way taken off. All right, with the stock controller removed, let's kind of show the difference in controllers here. So here is our new controller, here's our old controller. You can see thickness is going to be quite similar, but size is not similar. So this controller really packs a punch. Being in this little thing, it feels super premium. Like it's potted, so it's totally waterproof, sealed, has a really nice connector up here. This is going to be our wire harness that will connect to the controller, just like this, snaps on, feels real premium, and then these will then connect up into our bike. Now this controller is very small, so it has a little bit different way of mounting. We have this whole plate cover that the controller mounts to, and then will sit nice and flush on there and have a real premium look to it. They do give you these 2 brackets as part of install, and then we've got some new screws and some Allen wrenches, along with a couple of cool stickers, and that's really it. It's a real simple install, uses the same display, so let's get this new one on. All right, so our next step is going to be removing these 2 brackets, the one that goes right here and the one that goes right here. There's 2 Allen bolts, so we're just gonna pull those off, and you're not gonna be reusing these or the screws. So go ahead and save both the screws and the brackets to the side, and we're gonna be replacing them with those 2 silver brackets that we showed that come with the controller. They're gonna sit essentially just like this, 1 screw here and 1 you'll have to reach back from the battery side, which again is why we removed our battery, so we could have room to work in here. So swap those out, and we'll put our new plates on with the screws provided. They do provide you with 4 of the same kind of screws, and there's 2 screws that are a little bit thinner and narrower, and those are gonna mount your controller to this bracket. So there's 2 that are like this, 4 that are like this right here in this pile. All right, as you guys can see, we got our 2 metal brackets mounted up. They are side specific. You guys will know because they'll be sitting straight up vertical here. These screws were a little bit of a pain to get in. These metal brackets had some really tight tolerances, but we kind of had to go back and forth almost, leave one side loose, get the other side in, but they did work on both sides. So now we're gonna go ahead and snip the zip ties that are holding our positive and negative wires that are gonna plug into the controller, because we just need to give ourselves a little bit more room, so now they can come out here and we can work with them. Now we're essentially going to take our controller and we're gonna plug in our 3 motor phase wires first, and then our positive and negative wires. And then your controller is actually gonna sit right here on those metal plates, and then we'll put our cover over top of it. Okay, we're gonna mount these up. They do include the screws already installed on the controller, so you don't wanna use the ones that you already pulled out of your old controller. We're gonna line up blue, green, and yellow. Same with these, blue, green, and yellow. You'll kind of bend it around and you'll stick it right on there. It kind of takes 2 hands. Okay, that was super easy to get all 5 of those on. Now we're gonna line our controller up and we're gonna reach back from the back here with those 2 thinner, longer screws I showed you. We're gonna line up these holes in the brackets we put on, thread those in. Once you have it mounted on there, super snug feeling, sturdy, we're gonna get this plugged in. So we're gonna pop that on. Make sure you hear it click. Boom. Okay, then we're gonna plug in our white to our white. Again, these kind of click. You heard a little click there. There's our black. Pop that on. And then this square plug that has a cap on it is for the upgraded Torp display that we're not using in this video. You can option it with that, although the Talaria already has a pretty nice display, so we may not even need it.
What's up guys, this is Reed editing the video. That 3-pin plug that Lance is holding is for the thumb regen throttle. So if you end up purchasing that, that is where you will plug it in. If not, just tuck it up out of the way.
Okay, this order of operations is gonna go as follows. So you gotta fold your skid plate up all the way, and then you're gonna take this piece here and you're gonna tuck it down inside your skid plate, and then it will fold up, and then you can screw it on up here. Same on the other side, and then our horn cover will go right there and be our last 2 screws on the side and the screw up here. Okay, we got it all assembled. It's time to pop our battery back in, see if it works. Plug her in, flip the breaker, key in. Let's see if that display turns on. Here we go. We got our light, display, 100% battery. Okay, you guys, now that we got it installed, it's time to get it set up in the new Torp app for the Sting R. So we're gonna go in Torp controller right here. We're gonna select it. I've already connected to this app, so my bike literally just auto connects. As you can see, it got the configuration. But for your first time connecting, you'll go over to this far right tab, you'll hit scan Bluetooth, and your controller will pop up TC500 from Torp. So you'd click that, and then you'd be connected. So we're gonna go back out. What we're gonna do first here is go into our update firmware. We're gonna click controller. We're gonna do a firmware update. It says no new updates, which means we're already good to go. If you have an update though, do it. Next, we're gonna run our calibration. So right down there, we're gonna click calibration, go to setup wizard. For this, make sure your bike is on a stand, because your rear wheel will do some spinning as it kind of calibrates and calculates the motor. So right here, we're gonna select our bike. So we have Talaria MX4. So we're gonna click that, click OK. Click OK again. Now it is preparing calibration. So it's asking for the Bluetooth password to be able to calibrate our motor. I know it does say Hall sensors. This is an encoder motor. They just haven't updated the app. On the side of your box, there will be a Bluetooth password. So we're gonna go ahead and type that in. Ours is 22570. Click OK. It says detection. This will make the motor spin. So make sure you're on a stand. Okay, motor detection completed successfully. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna go into next, and now it's gonna have us calibrate our twist throttle. So we're gonna hit next. This says slowly twist the throttle all the way and release. We'll just do it twice, make sure it saves our numbers. We're gonna hit next. Perfect. It says twist the throttle slightly and see if the wheel and motor is spinning in the right direction. Yes, it is. We're going forwards. So we're gonna hit finish and save. So now that you guys have your motor all set up and your basic settings set, now it's time to go turn our power numbers up to where we wanna run. So we're gonna click the next tab over. This, now we can go into eco mode or sport mode here at the top, and you can set those specifically. Now you still will switch those with your same mode button over here on your display, just like on your stock bike. So let's start in eco mode. You can pick this top slider is going to be your motor current, which is your phase amp, so essentially your torque. So the higher the number this is, basically the more your front end's going to want to lift up, the more throttle you grab. It's kind of that low end power that you feel. Now you can set it all the way up to 500 amps on this bike with the stock motor set and the stock battery set, but you can just max that out and it doesn't trip your BMS. Your battery current, this is your direct correlation to your kilowatt output. So if you max it at 180 amps, which is 11 kilowatts, that's what they limit their setup to, which is all the testing they've done to know what works with this battery motor controller combo. So we have that set maxed out to 180. We have our phase amp set to 500. We have our RPM set to unlimited because we don't want to have a limit on how fast our motor is going to spin. Regen, you have throttle release regen, which is going to be when you let off your throttle, when you're coasting, how much regen is applied. Some people like to have 0 regen set on this setting. Some people like to have a lot, so that's a setting you guys can play around with. We've got it set at 15 right now, kind of a nice middle low number. Brake lever regen. This is for if you still have your brake sensors connected. We do not, because we don't like them for when we're wheeling, but you can actually, with this controller, you can set it so that when you pull your brakes, even lightly, when the sensor kicks in, it will do that motor regen. So that's a nice feature. Again, you guys can play around. If your sensors aren't connected, it's not going to do anything. So you can set up eco mode however you want. I would probably set it up to, like, say 6 kilowatts, and then we'll do sport a lot higher so you guys can kind of have 2 different modes. We'll go over to sport, basically the same things. We have these all maxed out. All the drag races and top speed runs you saw are at maxed out settings on every single one of these. Now when we get down to our general settings, we have a field weakening speed. So this is going to be sort of a direct correlation of how fast your bike goes and how much power your controller actually pulls. It's kind of a complicated one. When you go over 50 amps, it gives you a little field weakening sort of warning here that explains what field weakening does. Basically, the higher you set it, it gives you more speed and more torque, but the disadvantage is you get less range and increased motor temperature and sometimes some weird vibrations. So the best setting we have found that gives you kind of the most power available without any downsides is right at about 79, 80 amps out of 100. And that is right in the safe zone that they give you as well. If you go up higher than that, it turns red. And that's literally, like, we've tested it at 100 and it is slightly faster, but then it starts acting just a little weird. So we feel like 80 is the best. If we go all the way down the bottom, we have our mode button. This is gonna be how you change between eco and sport mode. I would just leave it on button if you have the stock Talaria display. We'll go down a little further, we get to our throttle settings. You can also change this for sport and eco mode. So you've got your throttle response here at the top, so you can drag that between smooth and aggressive. We like it almost all the way aggressive. Then you can play with your throttle curve. You can literally drag this, see how it adjusts your throttle feel, and just go out and experiment. The further to the right here, the more jumpy and aggressive it's gonna feel. Further this way, the more it sort of ramps up in a smooth manner. I would start kind of in the middle and play from there. Dead zone, you're gonna wanna leave between 2 and 3% usually. You have your brake lever thumb response. So this is if you have that thumb regen brake we talked about in the beginning of the video. You can adjust that setting. What I love about this controller is that you can do throttle settings in eco mode and sport mode. So that is super awesome. The other thing I love about the Torp is how OEM it feels. The app connects immediately when you turn it on. It works fantastically. They build in all those settings and power limits based on what they have tested. And we find that they are right on the limit of what you're allowed to do, and it works perfectly every time. That app auto connects perfectly, your OEM display works, your buttons work, your kickstand sensor works, your tip over sensor works. You can use the brake sensors if you want. and yet at the same time you can go in the app and you can toggle all those things off without having to unplug them on your bike. So again, it's simple OEM working stuff, simple install. We've been incredibly impressed with Torp, and we're going to be doing some more stuff with some of their other controller products on other bikes in the future, because again, it's just working, guys. And at the end of the day, that's what you want in a controller. You want to easily put it on. You want it to work every single time you turn that key and want to go for a ride. Again, if you guys are interested in purchasing this controller, hit up Darwin EV, link in the description. Save $50 on your controller. Add on that optional thumb regen if you'd like. Add on the display. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. We really appreciate you guys' support to the channel. We get out and make these videos for you guys. We hope that you continue to watch. We'll catch you next video. See ya.